Today, I'll be talking to you about the narrative approach. What is the narrative approach? It basically refers to the ability to work with a client by letting them narrate episodes of their life from start according to their perception to the end. Because if you think about it, life is about such episodes and highlights and occurrences and incidents that happen to you, good or bad. We experience life from birth to wherever we are sitting now through a series of interconnected events, and how we perceive the causes and the effects, or the input and the output that those events have on our lives. And sometimes we get so caught up in life that we sweep certain things under the carpet, we give others the interpretation that we do, and we start to build stories in our minds about those stories in our lives. And those stories in our minds start to define our identities and create our own versions of narratives about where we've been and what we've done and what others have done to us. And it's really efficient when you then work with someone to get them to put that narrative on paper, or to sit down and capture it in one position, so that you can listen and feed back to them and interject other things and prompt and question and clarify to get to the bottom of certain things that may have been misunderstood, certain things that may have been redefined, and certain things that they may have gotten stuck on and never gotten over those things, but not really realizing how they perceived and dealt with or continuously repeated those patterns in their lives. My name is Asa, and I appreciate you coming back to this channel time after time and supporting me in however minimal way you do weekly. If you're new here, please subscribe, join us, and let's have these conversations together. I upload weekly content around any topic that could make us reflect and grow and change little things about how we perceive life, or change little things about how people treat us and how we let them treat us, so that we can be empowered and healed and reach our best potential. Very often, certainly in social work, when we work with clients, we work with people during really low periods of their lives, whether they're recovering from trauma, mental health, domestic abuse, or just low feelings about themselves or any form of addiction. You find that in those moments, when you try and capture that story, it will be layered by a lot of unhealthy thoughts and perspectives, or a narrative about life. You find that the dominant story of the client is saturated by a heavy, sad, or negative story about their inabilities, or about the impact of other things that people have done onto them. And then it's your job to really interject alternatives to get them to see things a bit differently, to look at the same things that they've told you and see whether there's a possibility to see that specific thing from a different angle, to question and prompt and ask other kind of questions that will lead them to also see the positive things that have happened in their lives, the things that they did really well, that show amazing potential in them, but that they have completely excluded in that narrative, as they give you a really unhealthy and problem-filled version of what they have encountered in their lives, or they give you a very minimalistic storyline about their abilities and their capabilities and the worth and what they are able to do or achieve, by dismissing their skills and just really downplaying or saturating everything with all the negative things that have happened. So the narrative approach has nothing to do with the actual facts of what has happened in the client's life, and everything to do with the feelings and emotions and thoughts and beliefs that have come to surround every single highlight in the client's plot. And the things that they highlight in those plots are things that are significant to them, based on the impact of those things to them, based on the feelings and emotions that those things evoked in them. And it's really important for you to understand those things from their point of view. If someone tells you that somebody stole their shoes and they're making such a big fuss about those shoes, you have to go down there and understand what those shoes meant to them. Because to some people, it may be laughable to find someone going on and on and on about a grudge around shoes. So, what does that mean to you? How did that make you feel? And then, how can you use that feeling and their perception of that issue either to explain it differently or to make them feel differently by introducing different things to their lives? The other significance of the narrative approach is that it helps you to start to chop down and deconstruct that dominant narrative by the client. If their narrative is one of doom and gloom and one of shame and hate and guilt, you can start to shine a light on the alternatives of that story. What was potentially not their fault, what may have been a mistake, a misunderstanding, a reconstructed lie to help them deal with that thing. You can start to give those alternatives and also to look at outcomes that are more positive than where that story is leading at the moment. So that alternatively, you can alter the direction of the client's thoughts by introducing new thoughts, new ideas, new possibilities, and new actions that would change their narrative and change their perception and change their mood and feeling so that they can start to think and wish and feel and hope for different things in their lives. The significance of this narrative approach is that it gives you a reference map for you to really look at and see the things that are undeniable, to see how your life has progressed in practical terms and how you have lived it in your mind by how you interpreted every single one of those events, how you dismissed some of them, how you failed to even mention, to acknowledge to yourself that these things happened, that they had this impact on me. It helps you to see the alternative perspective that is fed back to you, or just what is blinking on that piece of paper that you have narrated. It helps you to actually put those positive interjected prints into it. My advice is that you should narrate with one color and then go back to it and introduce with a completely different color alternatives. Give an alternative to every highlighted plot of that event if you're doing this on your own as a simple chronological reflection. But if you're a frontline worker who is doing it and feeding back to the client, then make sure that you rewrite that story and feed back to them the dominant aspects that they've narrated. Give versions potentially and tentatively from your own view and understanding so that they can see that it could also have been that other thing. It could have been misunderstood. It could have been minimized. And that you're absolutely potentially better than what you've captured for yourself as who you are. It creates an amazing sense of awareness about you and about your environment and your experiences in a way that is different from how you've seen them for a long time. And in doing that, it expands your mind to the possibilities of how you can navigate those situations and how you can reach other outcomes. And finally, it connects you to a period in your life where you did better than you give yourself credit for, where you had other things going in your life that you've forgotten about, where you had dreams that you've abandoned and that you can revisit and reconnect with and use those to transfer to your now and to change the outcomes that seem to be dominated by that narrative that you've been telling yourself, so that you can revisit those hopes and those dreams and those relationships and use them as anchor and reference point for what you're capable of and what you can do again at the moment to reach different outcomes than where your problem saturated narrative is guiding you towards. The narrative approach is a really effective way to look at your life, to look at the highlights of that life, and most importantly, to look at the way you perceive and define every highlight in your life. And the things that you focus on and that you repeat as your narrative, and the impact that those perceptions and capture the lens through which you see those things define you and define your approach through life.